What's up, y'all? I'm Sarah and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about KPIs for $1 million results. When it comes to metrics for your business, I think most people focus way too much on sales. I think on social media, we see people talking about how much they made in sales for this launch or last month, but for having a business that is profitable, that creates consistent cash flow, there are other KPIs that I think are even more important than sales. So let's talk about what those are. So I know that you have seen people on Instagram talk about their 6-figure month or 7-figure year or multiple, 10K launches. What does that actually mean when they're talking about that? It's hard to say because nobody reports their numbers consistently across the board, but I think in most cases when people say, I made 100K in sales last month, that doesn't necessarily mean they had $100,000 landing in their pocket. So sales can mean, I'll take me as an example. When I have a new client sign a contract, that might be a $100,000 contract, but I'm not getting $100,000 all up front. I'm getting it piecemeal over the course of several months. And when they talk about $100,000 in sales, that doesn't actually mean that they got $100,000 in profit. So that doesn't account for what they spent, what it cost them to do the $100,000 launch. And even with what's left over after those expenses, that might not even reflect the money that they put into their pocket. Some of the KPIs you should focus on in addition to your sales numbers is going to be gross profit and net profit. Gross profit is if you take your sales and subtract out all of the costs of delivering the product or service to your customer. So this could include, as a product-based business, the cost of the thing that you're selling. If you have a service-based business, this would be the cost of any team members who are directly doing client delivery. And here's a really quick tip. Most business owners who own service-based businesses don't factor the cost of their time into, the cost of delivering their package, right? So we want to make sure that you're at least thinking about how much time and energy you as a business owner are putting into customer delivery. Then we look at net profit. So when you look at net profit, that's going to be your sales minus cost of sales gets you to gross profit. Then we back out all of your business overhead expenses from software to rent to anything else that you spend for your business. That gets you to your net profit number. And I like to include the owner salary in the expenses. Whether that goes on your tax return or not is a thing we can talk about another day. But I think the business needs to generate 10 to 20% profit after owner pay, after overhead expenses to be a sustainable business. Because if your business can't afford to pay you a CEO salary, then it's not a sustainable business. People ask me all the time, Sarah, am I spending too much money in my business or am I not spending enough? I think that, if you read Profit First says that you should spend no more than 30% of your sales on overhead expenses. I agree and also disagree. So we think about KPIs for your business. I like to look at my outflows in two different buckets. One bucket is going to be our ongoing everyday expenses, the things that you need to keep your business running. These I definitely want to not necessarily minimize, but I want it to be as lean as possible. I don't want you to be overspending on things that don't matter. In the other bucket though, I would say are one-time investments. Maybe you hire a coach, maybe you get a consultant to do a project in your business. You just do a one-time thing. The point of that is ultimately to make you more money overall. And so I don't love bucketing those one-time investments in that 30% bucket with my overhead expenses. So in terms of KPIs, I would say keep your overhead expenses to around 30% or so. Maybe more if you want to hire more team members and work less in your business, maybe less if you want to run as lean of a business as possible. I have seen business owners easily save 4 and 5 figures or more in one fell swoop by cutting expenses that are completely unnecessary. The areas of biggest spending that I tend to focus on are payroll and marketing expenses. So team members and what you spend on all of these different marketing strategies can easily be the biggest things that you spend on in your business. And if you don't spend on the things that actually give you a good ROI or return on investment, then these are things that we could easily cut out. So when we think about marketing, You wanna make sure that you're not spending all of your excess cash on the next marketing strategy. I see people get shiny object syndrome in marketing all of the time. So we wanna focus in on what really works, like where do your customers actually come from, and think about the customer journey. Then when we look at payroll expenses, I think, again, that is another really big expense for people. And so, maybe you hire a VA that you don't actually take the time to delegate things to. And so you're not using all of the time that you're paying for. And I've done this before. I think all business owners struggle to delegate. Or maybe we hire full-time team members too soon before you're actually ready to, have people full-time. Or actually have a client who has entirely subcontractors for her team. And in this case, it would be more cost effective for her to look at hiring some full-time employees instead of paying subcontractors really, really high rates. If your overhead expenses, including marketing and payroll, is way more than 30% of your sales, then I would take a hard look at what actually is working in your business and work to cut some of these, and you will save so much money. I have a lot more to say about hiring a team as you grow your business, so make sure you subscribe for more. Another important KPI for your business is your cash balance. So how much runway do you have in your business? When it comes to your cash balance, I don't love having too much cash, but I think it's also important to have at least a couple months of runway so that you don't feel stressed out. I have personally been there where my cash flow gets tight. We all go through tight cash flow months, but knowing that I have a reserve there definitely eases my peace of mind if I have a tight cash flow month. So when you look at your cash balance, I like to have at least 2 to 3 months of overhead expenses. So we want to look at how much you're spending on average in terms of overhead for your business. I don't tend to include my owner pay in this, but some people may want to. That's totally up to you. But we're going to look at your average overhead and say, what is 2 to 3 months of that? So in your main checking account for your business, I like to keep about 30 days of overhead in there at all times as a minimum balance. And then in a separate business savings account, I would save up to another, 1 to 2 additional months of cash in that savings account as a reserve. Go on the higher end on the 2 to 3 months of savings if you have a business that has a longer sales cycle, if you're more sensitive to things going on in the economy, or if it just makes you feel better. If you have a business that you can turn around and make a sale tomorrow, if you needed cash, then you can probably run on a lower overall cash balance because there's other things you can do with that cash that will get you an ROI outside of just sitting it in a savings account that's not going to get you a ton of interest. We've touched on a lot of KPIs in this video, so here is a recap of the ones I think you should focus on. Number 1, definitely look at your sales, both in terms of what did you sell in the month versus how much cash did you actually collect. Then we want to look at gross profit and net profit, and for you service-based business owners, remember to factor in the value of your time when you are looking at the gross profit of your offers. We also want to look at your ongoing overhead expenses, including your biggest expenses like marketing and payroll, and make sure that that is staying within about 30% or so of your sales numbers versus one-time investments. I actually think it's beneficial to track these separately so that you have a sense of how much are you investing back to grow your business. I also want to make sure you track your owner pay and make sure you're paying yourself a decent salary on a regular basis in addition to your cash balance. So making sure you have at least 2 to 3 months of cash built in your business as a solid reserve to give yourself a nice runway and peace of mind. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.